Obrigado. So one can make a long list actually of these useful goods and services that can be obtained even for the shore environment. What about anthropogenic impact, human impact? Did you notice any human impact?
Yes, my friend found a fork, a metallic fork.
Rubbish, litter.
Yes.
Right? With litter. Somebody saw a, go on.
Yeah, in our case, in our shore or particular area, there was so smooth besides the other areas, according to the other areas, and a guy came and he told about a story about 5 years ago. A man come and try to smooth the area. So this is the biggest anthropogenic effects, and there are some small pool, but it was very different characteristics than the other areas.
That's a huge impact because
yes.
the shore we're talking about is not very big.
Yeah.
So a small area flattened
yes.
by mechanical means
yes.
on a shore which is not very big is a significant impact.
Yes.
I did not know that until you told me.
Yeah.
Until you really told me.
Yes. And the second impact was small ones, so that's another anthropogenic impact.
What you're talking about the flat area,
yes.
okay, for the benefit of the others. So what happened was that someone who wanted to flatten the shore, you know that there were some parts with rocks sticking out, that was not convenient, okay, because this person wanted to place these scooters, jet scooters, okay, so he wanted an area that is flat to place his jet scooter. So he came down with a mechanical shovel and he scraped away the jutting parts of the rock to flatten out this area, okay, an area perhaps the size of this room.
Okay.
Illegally.
Yeah.
Illegally. But, okay, so he did that and we are saying that that is an impact, an adverse impact. But why? How can you say that? How can you say that it has an adverse impact?
Because the resilience is not so rapid.
Sorry,
the resilience, I don't know what is the word in English.
Resilience
yes.
Of species, you say?
Of species is not so rapid, so it's a clear zone. So she couldn't participate again to the equilibrium of ecosystems.
But eventually, there will be an equilibrium, no? It will take time, but eventually.
If you broke parts, you broke this equilibrium. It goes in another direction, and
get a new equilibrium.
We don't know if it's a new equilibrium or not.
Okay.
So what would you expect, for example? Would you expect to be less abundance, perhaps less species?
Yes, perhaps less less food for other species, and it could be a chain reaction. Yeah.
But why? What has changed? I mean, the rock is still there. The shore is still there.
For example, for some zones, there can be nursery zones.
Okay. So the surface topography has changed, so the structure, habitat structure has been changed. Now it's smooth. Perhaps there are less small nooks and crannies where the animals like the larafe can seek refuge.
And I'm sure you noticed that lots and lots of animals were there, but they were always, or they try to be as hidden as possible. So if there's a crack, or there's a pit, or there is a cavity, that's where you find them. Don't find them on the rock. Why? Why do they look for hiding places? And to stop predation, no? No, what? Get away by the waves. 1 liter of water, you know what 1 liter is, not a lot of water, that's 1 kilogram. Right? Now imagine that you get all these liters of water hitting you. That's a lot of force. So that's what the main factor affecting life on the shore is. It's resisting wave action. Predation and that, yeah, but that's secondary. That's your first problem. So anything that you can do to avoid getting the full force of the waves, you do it. So you live in crevices, you live under hold, but right? And if you are mobile like a crab is mobile. Right? What do you do? Or one of those big snails. those who show the ocellations, the big snails, right? How do they survive?
The caves. The caves,
Mm.
the small caves.
Yeah. So what do they do? When it's rough weather, what do they do?
Go and do
Yes. And when it's not rough weather, they come out, right? So it's behavior.
It's operculum on the rock substratum, on the rock. It's shell hole
Huh?
and operculum.
Yeah. The operculum covers the mouth of the shell, the entrance of the shell. And that is okay, but physiologically, you don't dry out because you've got water. It's not going to help you not getting carried away by the waves. You need to be either stuck down, like vermitids, like limpids, like ctamalus, the barnacle, chitons, these are all stuck down, the sucker or something. Or if you're not stuck down, like a crab is not stuck down, okay, then you need to have a behavioral adaptation, which is, as soon as it gets too rough, find a hiding place and wait grab the rock and wait until the weather is calm, then come out when it's calm. So you've got both morphological adaptations and you've got behavioral adaptations. Okay?
So you agree that the shore environment is a very harsh environment to live in, right? Exposure to waves, in the middle of summer, very high temperature, direct sunlight. In winter, you can have ice forming, thin ice layers on the shore. Okay, so problems of desiccation and cold and all sorts of things.
May I ask a question? In our particular area, you said black dots on the rocks provides nutrients for algae, for example. No?
Those are phosphate nodules,
Yeah.
and it's in a form which is not soluble.
Okay, not
Okay?
soluble.
No, so it has no significance in terms of nutrients to the algae. The rock does not dissolve. It dissolves very, very, very slowly. It will not affect the algae
Okay.
at all. Okay? And that kind of habitat where you've got the phosphate nodule, that's a geological structure.
Okay.
That's by accident, it happens to be at sea level. And there are very few places where it is at sea level. Right? So it's just a kind of rock.
Okay. And finally, for the shore, you also have trampling. People like us today, okay, moving over the animals. Okay, so you have lots of trampling. Okay.
And I think also diving can have some negative influence to coastal area ecosystems because a lot of people don't have special technique underwater diving and they can damage some maybe.
Not good buoyancy.
Yes,
not
of
the
course,
good
it happens underwater, but on the shore, it's easier because everyone can go on the shore.
More underwater.
No thanks. Yes.
Okay, so now let's move to the subject today. Obviously, it was not easy for you, I know. You have realized that working with a transect, because you are not divers, you have to do it on the surface. And it's not easy seeing things on the seabed, even if they are just 2 meters or 3 meters below you. It's not easy to identify them. It's not easy to see boundaries, so I'm sure that you appreciate the difficulty of doing a transect on the surface. It is not really the right way to do a transect, okay? We usually do it on the seabed, using scuba diving. So the diver is very close to the seabed and it can take notes and see the animals and the plants better, take samples and so on. What is your assessment of the habitats, therefore, in the subliterature? Did you find all 4 habitats? Did you record all 4 habitats? Not everyone, right? Okay. Who had the 4 habitat types in the transect? You managed to record the 4.
We also.
You also. Okay, again, similar to what we had on the shore. You get some parts where you have high heterogeneity, right? Heterogeneity, with patches of different habitats, and other places where maybe you had just 2 habitats, or even 1. So even this applies also what applies to the shore. As you go out along the headland, and also as you go out into deeper waters, okay, you have this variation, this change in the occurrence and spatial distribution of different habitats. So if you were to, all the groups, pool your data, so you had essentially transects every given distance, right? So we had many transects, we had 9 at least transects. If you were to pool the data, put them together, okay? What do you think can be done with this data? Can you, for example, perhaps produce a map? Okay, so this would be one exercise that can come out of such a session. Plotting the spatial extent of different habitats in the study area. What about of these 4 habitat types, the seagrass, photophilic algae, berry sand, and cobbles and pebbles? You recorded the occurrence of different species, right, and abundance, as you did for the shore. Did you arrive at a conclusion of perhaps which one is, suppose, the highest diversity, or and which one is the most abundant? What were your conclusions?
In our case, we had the first stratum with the Photophyllus algae that was
Sharp face.
and about, I think, 7 meters depth. So the other stratum with pebbles or with sand and with Posidonia, it was not easy to see the species that there were such. So in our case, for sure, the most the stratum that had the most species was the first one, but it probably yes. But also Posidonia is supposed to have many species that we couldn't see.
So you are making the important point that you cannot really come out with this assessment.
Was the species richness, the number of different species of fish, was it most largest in the photophilic algae or not?
No.
No, where was it? In the
Cobbles and pebbles, you
in
say?
the cobbles and pebbles. There were more fish species on cobbles and pebbles than there were in the photophilic algae and the seagrass and the Posidonia. In your case, okay.
Actually, we saw rich biodiversity in the photophilic algae, but in Posidonia, maybe 1 or 2 species, but more than.
Lots of bunches.
Yes. And in also photophilic algae area, there were also parasites sea urchin. It was very common. It wasn't so sharp as your area, so there are parasites of.
In our group, we saw the rich abundance between.
And things going on then, so food, shelter, nursery areas, okay? But is this the same for all habitats? Is it the same? Is this the same for all habitats? Same food, same refuge? Is this equal for the different habitats, or it changes from one habitat to the other? This service that it provides.
All habitats provide food. All have invertebrates.
On surface, the microalgae.
The question is, each of these habitats provides goods and services. Okay.
Don't provide the food.
You think so?
Surface.
You think so? Yes. They all provide services. They all provide food for something or other. Are they equal in their contribution? Do they provide the same amount of food? No. Okay. Now, if no, some have provide more than others. Yes?
Yes.
Which?
Posidonia provide more.
Why?
You got to justify your answer. Not just say.
We are trying to arrive here, so this is it.
Because it creates a microhabitat for many species, so there are many biotic animals or plants that live.
What we refer to as structural complexity.
Yeah.
Right? A habitat that is structurally complex, like seagrass, like algal habitat, has many microhabitats, and therefore supports a higher biodiversity.
So your rock with its algal and bacterial felt on it is providing food for grazers. But if you're looking at Posidonia, you have the leaf, you have the shoot, you've got the rhizome, you've got the sediment trap between the rhizomes.
The mat.
Right? And then, yes, the mat, that's the mass of rhizomes and sediment on which the thing is coming out of. Right? So you can see that the structure is much more complicated. So the types of food and the types, the microhabitats are much more abundant than you have on a rock, which is very, very much the same. Do you understand? That's the habitat architecture. Like our churches are baroque, lots of decorations, and then you get the neoclassical, and they're very simple, just smooth walls.
In the rules of the project of the Posidonia Senka,
Yes.
and the list of the Posidonia Senka on the Rioza
And politics as well, huh?
yes.
There are politics on the surface. The circulating, circulates.
Yes.
Last thing, anthropogenic impact. Did you note any anthropogenic impacts on the sublittoral habitats? Perhaps again it was difficult to assess this because you are not close to the seabed, so they have been. Did you see, for example, any anchoring on Posidonia or moorings, concrete blocks maybe? Did you see? Anyone saw? Did you saw? Big block, okay. Okay, so what happens when someone puts a big block of concrete on the Posidonia? What would be the impact, the adverse impact? What happens? No effect.
There were changes, just like the boundaries of the system. It would be like
But other effects could be that now you have an elevated structure, and because of water movement, okay, water movement coming against the mooring, it will start changing the microenvironment around the mooring, and because of that, perhaps the Posidonia is also affected. So you don't have just this area, you may have a larger area, okay, with this modified habitat in between. Worse, if the mooring has a chain, okay, and the chain is lying, usually it doesn't go straight up, but it is lying on the mooring and on the Posidonia. When the boat ties to the mooring, the chain starts moving around, so sometimes the area impacted by the chain is larger than the area taken by the mooring. So sometimes, when you have these many moorings like you have in these bays, okay, you add all these areas together, and you find that a large area of Posidonia has been affected adversely, okay, with these moorings. Anchoring, same thing or worse. Anchoring, you get a boat, comes in this morning, puts down the anchor, rips off the Posidonia shoots, there is the chain, it's also moving on the Posidonia, right, ripping off the shoots. Then he takes up the anchor, moves to the next bay for another swim, puts down the anchor, repeat, here, there, and and you come here, and you go down and you're seeing the fish and the that's already a very basic service that's being provided. But we can draw a whole list. Because, for example, Posidonia, we mentioned that Posidonia traps sediment, okay, so it reduces turbidity, the water column. You have the effect on water quality. So these living plants, apart from Posidonia, also the algae, are taking up the nutrients which are ending up from the bones and from the lowlands also. They are cleaning the waters. And you can go on and on, reducing wave action, Posidonia, reducing coastal erosion. You can draw up a very long list. A list that will more convince politicians than us biologists, sometimes more effective in doing so. For many species, yes. For many species.
It's a whole world. Knowing that Posidonia is belongs as a classification to flowering plants, I think it's a monocotyledon anyway. And is it flowering and fruiting just like the others? I mean, I read about cotyledons.
No, actually, Posidonia submits more to vegetative reproduction than flowering. Flowering happens rarely. There was a time when it was being recorded approximately every 10 years. Okay, so it's quite a rare event. And the reasons for this was a controversy. You know, some scientists say it is because of global warming, you know, that is resulting in this flowering. Others say that because of this global warming, it's a better environment for the plant. Way better. Others say no, you know, it's being stressed, so it's trying to counteract the stress by reproducing sexually.
But by the way, it was
also another little work for you, because as said Joe, it's a workshop. I would like that you can write a little text, 1 page maximum, concerning Bio DivMeX, concerning the Mediterranean biodiversity, and that you can write together, all together, some point in 1 page. This is the question is not to say to us that we must stop pollution, we must stop climate change. No, I want that you can say us how you what do you expect from Bio DivMeX? How do you imagine the relationship between a young scientist, for example? How you imagine the collaboration between laboratory and, for example, if you think that this kind of workshop is a good thing, but perhaps you can say no. It's a good thing or not. But I think that as a young scientist, you have some idea about the future of the Mediterranean and the future of the researches concerning Mediterranean area. You can think about this short text during the dinner, after the dinner, and I think perhaps that tomorrow morning, at the end of the session, one of you can explain to us this recommendation.
Can be published.
Yeah?
They can be publicized.
Yes.
As an output by yourself of the workshop.
Okay? Thank you very much for